What's happening, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the 182 News Podcast. This is your host, Poppin' Curbs, and you are tuning in to a motherfucking emergency pod. Was not planning on getting this out so soon. Got a lot of messages last night, earlier today. I didn't think there was a chance in hell I'd find any time today to knock this out. I've already been to the zoo. I lost my dog, Tim. We got him back. It's all good. I'm finding some time to talk about what was an insane evening, one of the most memorable Friday nights I can remember in a long, long time. So I'm going to jump straight into this. Earlier this week, let's discuss how this came up a little bit. Earlier this week, I think it was Monday or Tuesday, all of a sudden I start getting messages. I start getting text. Hey, did you see Mark's playlist? Has Mark said anything about this playlist? And I'm looking at it. I'm like, yeah, it's an Apple playlist. Okay, yes, those are public, which I don't like. I don't like people in my phone being able to see my playlist. Maybe I need to check my privacy settings. I don't need people knowing, I'm listening to Lamb of God and Master P. I'm looking over the playlist and people are thinking, is this a set list he's practicing? Because really to this point, we haven't seen a full-blown set list. There have been blurry ones that people have dissected and tried to, I guess think about a little bit that look fairly accurate. But I'm looking over that playlist and I'm thinking to myself, that is a pretty solid playlist. That's about exactly what I would expect them to play. Looked a tad short. And then, there was a title on it that said Coachella. I'm thinking, I don't know much about this. I'm not a festival man, but let me look this up. When's the date for Coachella? Oh, Coachella's in like 3 or 4 days. Interesting. Now, I know Blink typically likes to do a warm-up show. I think Travis's injury, was what was fresh on my mind. I didn't even really know if he was healthy yet. I knew Tom and Mark had been rehearsing. I didn't know if Travis was there. I had not really seen any pictures of Travis without his little splint on. So my hope was still that really Travis was going to be healthy in time for this May 4th tour kickoff. And I was thinking ideally, maybe they'd have a small kickoff show, warm-up show prior. So I see the playlist, and I'm starting to put 2 and 2 together, and then it's like the next day, it's officially announced. I wake up, I got a bunch of texts on Tom's Instagram. He's got the shit, piss, fuck, cunt, on his teleprompter, and boom, it's happening. And there wasn't a lot of time to really... think about this. And all of a sudden it was Friday and it was here. And I got to say, yesterday, I'm recording this on Saturday, yesterday throughout the day, I didn't even know how to act. I was nervous. And I don't really get nervous myself. I certainly don't start feeling nervous for other people. But I was genuinely nervous for the band. And reason being, this is such a big deal. I mean, this is a huge, huge fucking deal, point in history, and I hope people recognize that. I think you do. We're obviously going to get into it. I mean, last night was epic, but leading up to this, I just started thinking about, they haven't played with Tom since 2014. That is so long. That is damn near a decade ago, okay? Over like 8.5 years, going on 9 years. Think about going through high school twice. That's how long it's been since Tom has done a Blink show. Think about starting out as a freshman through senior year of high school, rolling right into college, knocking out 4 years of college. Think about how much life happens in between that. And that's how long it had been since Tom had played with them. So I started thinking about that. And I started, really kind of getting emotional thinking about these three reuniting on stage, Tom and Mark rekindling their friendship, how big of a deal this is to so many of us, to the fan base, and most importantly, to them as a band and really just as friends. And then I started thinking about, gosh, the last Blink show was in January 2020. It was an iHeartRadio thing. And they really had only done a few shows in those months, between like I think they did the K Rock Halloween show late 2019. The tour had wrapped up. The Enema of the State 20th anniversary tour had wrapped up, I think, in September. It was right around when Nine dropped. So to think about how much life has happened between now and then, I mean, we had a fucking pandemic. Like, I've had a kid. I've had the worst year of my life. Knowing what Mark has went through with his battle with cancer, I just really started thinking about the magnitude of. I knew it was coming. I knew we were getting close to hopefully seeing those three on a stage, but I didn't know it was going to be like this Friday. So I really just was having a hard time even wrapping my head around what was about to happen. And I was busy yesterday and the time just kept flying by, and I was just looking at my watch and I'm like, shit, these three are going to be on a stage in like 3 hours and I don't know what to do. Leading up to the show yesterday, I mean, I've got young kids, so it's chaos. So I'm like, okay, I got to get everybody in bed first. I have got to be in front of my TV with no distractions. 8:45 Central Standard Time. So I got that taken care of. Had a little bit of time, and I'm like, I don't even know what to do. I'm nervous. I don't want to sit here. I don't want to sit on Twitter. I don't want to scroll through Discord. What do I do leading up to this show? And so what I did was I put on Travis's new Hulu special with Chloe. I think it's called Till Death Do Us Part. And it was great. I know a lot of people were worried that it was going to be like, a super Kardashian show, or maybe felt a tad awkward watching it or something. But I watched that. It was amazing. It really was. Mark's in it a bunch. I'm happy for Travis. He seems so happy. I cry at weddings. Like literally, if I go to a stranger's wedding right now, I will fucking bawl. Just because I think it's just so beautiful, so special. And when I was watching some of Travis's speeches and talking, he was talking about when he was walking out to the aisle, he was thinking of his mom. His mom's been gone for a long time. She was a big reason why he started playing an instrument at a young age. And I was just getting so emotional about that. And he's on the phone calling his dad, who he calls Pal. And if you've read his book, you know how special of a friendship they have, as father and son. And so I was really getting emotional watching it because Travis himself was crying. Travis was struggling to make it through some of these speeches. And I'm that way. When I was at my wedding, I was bawling like a baby. I was crying during rehearsals. And so, I kind of felt that for Travis, and I've never seen Travis like that. So, he's typically, Travis is a badass. Travis is, pretty hardcore. I would never picture that dude tearing up. And so to see him like that, I was like, man, this is some pretty rad insight into a side of Travis that we don't really see. So I watched that. That ended pretty quick. I'm like, okay, still got some time to kill. What do I need to watch next? I put on Blink/Show. Like, you know what? If I'm going to watch back-to-back performances, let's line these up. So I put on that iHeartRadio show. It was January 2020 with Skiba, of course. And it was a lot of fun. I don't think it was necessarily like their crowd, so the crowd wasn't going super crazy or anything, but they sounded good. It reminded me how much I love Dark Side Live. They played that. And then all of a sudden, we're about 30 minutes away from the showtime. And I'm thinking, God, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to watch a Blink show live at home. Do I get a beer? No, I don't want to get too drunk and forget this. This is too special. Do I get some popcorn? Do I get some sprees? What do I do? And so I plopped my ass down with a movie theater sized box of sprees. And all of a sudden, it was game time. It was 8:45, 8:46. And all of a sudden, up on the screen, it's like up next, Blink-182. And they had this big banner. And behind the banner, I could see Tom's guitar. And then I could see Mark. And then I was thinking, and my Blink friend in real life was actually texting me as well. He's like, get that fucking banner off the screen. Let's get rid of this. And the banner goes away. And all of a sudden, it's just an awesome moment. I mean, just such an awesome moment. And it's Mark and Tom right before they go on stage, and they're just sitting there laughing and talking, and it looked like a stagehand or somebody was filling them in maybe on the intro or what was going to happen. And what was crazy is right next to them was Jeff P., who's been on the podcast, friend of the pod. So he was just sitting there. I need to pick his brain on just how rad of a moment that was. And they're just sitting there chatting. And in my mind, I'm just thinking, this is such a big moment. Like, this is so cool, and this is such a rad little window into their experience of getting ready to walk out on this stage for the first time. Now, typically a warm-up show is a small show. This is a pretty big crowd. I don't know how many people attend this. I don't even know what type of music is typically at this. I actually have a buddy in real life who was going to Coachella and was like so stoked to see Blink. So whoever was already planning on attending that festival, I mean, they got a hell of a surprise with Blink, popping into this. So we see them backstage, and then Travis comes, and I'm thinking, oh my God, here we fucking go. Like, here we fucking go. These three are about to walk on a stage for the first time. They did not know they were actually being recorded there. So that was kind of rad. I learned that today. I think Mark mentioned that. And then all of a sudden, they walk out on stage, and it's just Tom's just prancing out. They've got the music going. And my favorite part about that is the camera goes to Mark. And, I've had the pleasure of really spending a lot of time offline talking to Mark and just one-on-one, or just a few of us playing games or something. And I know what he was dealing with during that time. And to see him just finally able to get back with his band and on a stage, it really hit me pretty hard. And there's a point in that where Mark goes out, and you can tell that they're all just taking it in. And Mark literally stands at the front of the stage, and he's looking out, and I can tell that he's just soaking it up. And I don't know what he was feeling right there. I know he said he was nervous before the show, but I was just so fucking happy for them right there. And they prance out like the absolute legends they are. And they just kind of wave. I just had such a smile on my face watching them come out, watching Tom, just goofy Tom, prance out there. And I'm like, okay, here we go. This is a huge fucking crowd. We are in for a treat. This is history right here. And, of all things to start the show off with, they go straight into the shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, tits, fart, turd, and twat. And I'm thinking, oh my God. Imagine if you're like a dad there who brought, like your 13-year-old daughters and their friends, and this band just got added to the set and you have no clue what to expect. And they come out and just bust right into that. They roll straight into Anthem Part 2. And I'm going to hit on the set list a little bit later. But I was just so hyped. I was so fucking hyped to see those three out on a stage. They looked great. I mean, I was shocked. Whoever they are working out with, or whoever is like prepping their meals or working with them on a diet, I mean, they all look amazing. I need to get on the regimen. So to see them all out there taking the stage, busting right into that silly Blink humor that we all love, it was just a truly, truly special thing. And, when they went into Anthem 2, there were a couple little hiccups. I felt like they were maybe a tad nervous. I'm sure they were. How could they not be? But very quickly after that, I mean, they just started absolutely crushing it. And right after the first couple songs, I mean, there was banter immediately. I know, during the Skiba era, and this is not a knock on Skiba at all, I love all those albums, love that era, have so many rad memories of that era. But one of the complaints of the fan base during that time period was, the banter maybe wasn't what it would be with Tom and Mark. And, what I'll say about that is I don't think people understand how fucking funny Mark and Tom are. They really are. I mean, I've had long conversations with both of them, way more with Mark. And even offline and off stage or whatever, I mean, they're just so fucking witty. So to have those two, on stage together, going back and forth, it's truly a rare, rare thing. And right away, they started playing off of each other. And it was just like, man, there's that little piece. I didn't realize how much I missed it, but there's that little piece that it's like, I get it. Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm all about the music typically, but there is something very, very special about those two just joking around on stage. And it's not a knock against Skiba or that era at all. It's just those two are so fucking funny. And Skiba has his own sense of humor, and it's a little bit different. But just to hear them going back and forth right away was hilarious. I'm going to hit on Tom's guitars, one by one here in a little bit. But right away, I've been so stoked to see him on stage with a new guitar. And so he comes out, backwards Padres hat. He's got his brand new Starcaster, the one with the stickers on it, which I think is pretty gnarly. And then he's got that Black to the Stars shirt, which is sick. And in fact, it was funny. To the Stars posted afterwards that shirt has since sold out. So these dudes got some influence. It's pretty sick. And one of the things that I just noticed right away is they just seem so into it and so happy. And so you could tell that they had rehearsed. You could tell that they were all so stoked to be on stage and all in it. I could tell Tom was loving it. And I mean, overall, just right away, I was just so happy. I really was. It's been a long time. It's been forever since we've seen Tom and Blink. It's been a long time since we've seen any live music from these three and Blink in general. So it was just really special. When it comes to the performance, I was really curious. What is this going to sound like? The last time Tom was back in Blink, it was when he had been with Angels for some time, and he really brought a strong element of Angels back into Blink to the point where it caught some people off guard. I've mentioned it before. I'll never forget that first Jay Leno performance when they did All the Small Things, and Tom brought his Angels voice. And not that it was different or bad or something that I didn't like or whatever. It was just so different. And not what I was expecting when we heard him with Blink before. So this time around, I was very curious. What's this going to sound like? Now, I think the beauty of this, and this is where timeline-wise, this all just happened to play out so nicely. The last Angels tour, I've mentioned on the pod previously that Tom sounded great. Like, seriously, when I went to those shows, and my Blink friend in real life, Matt, he will not hesitate to call Tom out, just sounding terrible live or whatever. And at those shows, both of us were looking at each other like, dude, Tom sounds amazing. And I think I've even said it before. I was like, man, if Tom was in Blink right now, they would sound fucking great. And I think what ties into a lot of that is the past couple Angels releases, because Tom was not in Blink, I think he's really just making music as himself and what's pouring out of his soul. So there's no longer this, that's an Angels sound and this is a Blink sound, and they're so drastically different. It's just coming out of Tom. It's just Tom right now. So I think because Life Forms was like that, and because, I think he was taking even, I don't know if it's vocal lessons, but I know he was really caring, I was told, about his voice on that last tour. And that's something that, he wanted to sound better. And so that's, it's shining through, no doubt. In Anthem 2, when he was singing that, I'm like, man, he sounds awesome. And it's different than the album, but I love it. At this point, I don't want it to sound exactly like the album. I want it to be a little bit different. So the way that he was singing some of these right away, I was like, God, Tom is really bringing it. Mark's bass tone was fucking killer. Mark sounded great. They all looked great. Tom's tone, I couldn't tell a huge difference between like the Starcaster and the Gibsons. I think from a gear perspective, that probably has a lot to do with your rig. If your rig's set up a certain way, you could probably play 5 different guitars and it's going to sound the same. I thought his tone sounded fine. I loved the pick slides and everything. They sounded gnarly. Travis absolutely crushed it. No doubt about that. The finger seems to be healed. He had a new kit, so I was asking Q182 about that. He referenced that color scheme as a jelly bean color scheme. It looks sick, and it was just honestly, it was rad to just see like the whole Blink crew together. I've been to so many shows and sound checks and, followed all those dudes and have paid attention to all of their social media and Instagrams and such. And it was just really special to see, Travis's drum tech, Daniel, back on stage, OC Drum Devil. To see Mark's new tech, Brian, that was his first Blink show. So I was excited for him. Tom has Jesus back. Even all the way down to Daniel Fogg again, the photographer. It was just fucking awesome to see all the Blink crew and fam back on stage. I know everybody had been working so hard behind the scenes. It didn't go as planned last month, but here we are. bringing it in front of all of Coachella. So it was fucking sick. You could tell that they had rehearsed. I mean, I was talking to several folks, even Davey, who, Davey's an old school fan. But even him watching these new performances, he's like, God, they sound tight. And Tom, from his guitar standpoint, is crushing it. I honestly didn't know, what to expect out of Tom in regards to, I didn't know if they were going to rely heavily on backing tracks or, how much of this was going to be coming through live. And one of my takeaways watching it, I'm like, they're fucking crushing this live. Like, I'm not hearing a ton of backing tracks going on, and I'm watching Tom's hands, and he was down picking everything. Like, Tom still got it. No question about it. I didn't know if he was going to have these blink chops coming back. Because in Angels, the last tour, there was a lot of times where he didn't even have a guitar in his hands. And, David Kennedy was doing it. Alon tracks a lot of that stuff. So, I didn't know if Tom would still have these super fast Blink songs down. And God, with fucking Dysentery Gary and Damn It and just a lot of these songs, I mean, Tom was absolutely shredding these. So, my takeaway from a performance perspective was you could tell they were tight. You could tell they had rehearsed, and they just seemed so happy, and they seemed to be having so much fun. And that's just such a huge difference. And that's so huge. I don't know anybody's state of mind the last time they played together. And not that I would say anybody was checked out or didn't want to be there or whatever, but I think you can see the passion just pouring through on last night's performance. They're stoked. They've been working really hard on this. They're back together. They're on great spots in their life. They're all having fun. And, I think it showed completely. They had some insane harmonies going on. So both Mark and Tom were sounding so good. And there was a lot of harmonies that they had, singing on top of each other that were great. I think Man Overboard in specific was one I was like, God damn, like right away. That was pretty early in the set list. I'm thinking, gosh, they have practiced this shit and they sound incredible. I had mentioned that, for me, one of the big things was, seeing Tom's new guitars out on stage. So for the guitars, we got the debut of his new Starcaster. And honestly, I think it's perfect. I know some people are complaining or miss the Gibsons. Fuck those Gibsons. I didn't think about those Gibsons once last night. I think it is a perfect combination of the old Fender Strat days, and you still get that Gibson feel, and it's just the perfect culmination of, I think, his history into one guitar. And so I was curious which ones he was going to play. He's teased several of these. I think I even posted, some of the ones the other day that this Brian, I think it's Brian Thrasher, was making for him. I didn't know which one he was going to play, which one he prefers, which he was going to play on which song. So I was super stoked for that. I'm a guitarist in some capacity. So I've always, paid super close attention to what Tom is busting out. And so right away, the very first song, I was curious what we were going to see. And he was going with, I'm going to call it the anime sticker one. Okay. This is the one that's loaded up. It's got the Descendant sticker, BR sticker. Obviously, I've done a ton of content on the sticker Strat. So I'm down with, slapping up a guitar. I think it's a really rad thing. And to see him busting that out, it looked sick. And one thing that I didn't even know until a couple weeks ago is, that old school Blink anime sticker, the very first Blink sticker, legend has it. It's white. It's kind of got a baby blue tint to it. A cane is the character. It's from a manga. It's from Ranma 1/2 is the comic or manga it's from. And Tom has that sticker. I think it was the last one he put on it because he showed a picture of it at one point and I did not see that. And the only reason that I even really knew about it about a week ago is, so Mark had mentioned that he gave that sticker to Tom to put on his guitar. And he thought it came from Liz Dynamite, who a lot of you all know, and it may have, but she thought it might have been one that came from me. And the reason that I think it might have been from me in some capacity is Mark mentioned that it was from a sheet of stickers. So here's a little bit of fun backstory there. So this was the original Blink sticker. Davy Jones recreated it off an original for our sticker strats. So if you've seen the sticker strats, if you've seen the videos I've done on the sticker strats, you will know that on that original guitar of Tom's, there is that sticker, and it's kind of covered up in its final form, but it's there. So when we were all recreating these, Davey recreated it by hand. It's exact to scale. He sent that file to me to get printed. I had my printer dude, send me the stickers. And because that sticker is so small, he actually sent me a ton of them. I've got several sheets of these. And so when Mark was going through some stuff with his cancer, I sent Mark a bit of a care package. And one of the things that I threw in there was a huge sheet of these sticker reproductions. And then I actually threw in some OG stickers of ones I had, but I don't have an original of this sticker. I only had the reproductions. So anyways, that's a long way of saying Mark said somebody sent him a sheet. And so the reason I think that might have came from me, and I don't really care either way. In fact, I hope it's Liz's, but I'll take a 50-50 shot at it. But he gave that sticker to Tom, and Tom slapped that on his guitar. So nice little fun fact there. That little Ranma sticker, I think, is one I sent Mark. So that's a really weird circle. Davy Jones to me to Mark, Mark to Tom. Or I also sent Liz one, who may have sent that to Mark, who sent to Tom. So who knows? It doesn't matter. It's rad. It's the old school Akane logo. And there's a very special part in the set where Mark is playing his relic bass that has actually an original of that sticker on it. Tom is playing this Starcaster that has that reproduction on it. And I was texting Davey. I was like, dude, they are both playing guitars right now that have an original fucking Blink sticker on it. The very first one, story goes, Mark made it in Photoshop class. How fucking rad is that? Who would have thought? Here we are, 2023, fucking pandemic. We're all coming out of, finally, sort of. And here we are on stage. We've got Tom with an Akane sticker, Mark with an Akane sticker, rocking out, reunited for the first time in nearly a decade. I mean, Jesus Christ. It's crazy. So I thought that was super, super special. He did bust out. So going into this, of all the Starcasters I've seen, I actually thought the one that I would prefer is there's an artist, I believe it's Sam Larson, who did the hand-drawn one. It's got like a UFO. It's got Skankin' Rabbit. It's got the Blink smiley. It's white. And this artist, went off on this. It's fucking amazing. And going into this, I was thinking there's no doubt this would be my favorite one. Like, I thought that was hands down the best, no question about it. I'll tell you what, Tom seemed to prefer the sticker one. I'm going to call it the anime Starcaster. That's what I'm going to call it. I'm dubbing it. I'm sick of trying to figure out what to call it. I'm calling it the anime Starcaster. Tom seemed to prefer that for most of the set. It grew on me because of that, anime sticker that's on it. It's got a little bit more special sauce to it. I think that's my favorite. I think if I had to pick from all his Starcasters right now, could pick one, that's the one for me. So he did bust out that Sam Larson guitar, though, and it was sick. He did bust out that little penis guitar. I'll say that one's probably my least favorite. Not that I have anything wrong with the art direction. It's very much Tom. In his little way, that's probably a masterpiece. But to me, I think I'm going to take the sticker one and the Sam Larson one over the tiger with the 10-foot dick wrapped around his neck. But, whatever. And yeah, I mean, I was just shocked at how rad it looked and how sick it was. So that was dope on Mark's side of things. I was very stoked to see what Mark was going to bust out on stage. And, the big one right off the bat is Scully. So Scully is that pink bass guitar used a lot during the Untitled days, during those tours. Legendary axe. It's really cool. There's a lady on Mark's Discord, Edu, who sent him that Finnish flag. The stickers had been taken off, so Edu sent him a true Finnish flag to slap back on there. And then there's a black smiley sticker on it. It's not 6 arrows, it's a 5 arrow. So it's one from back in the day. And there's a collector, Mario, who actually sent Mark that sticker to slap back on. So it's really cool because it's kind of a community piece to get that back together. Joey, who I just had on the last podcast with the Blink-182 bass project, he was kind of given rights to choose which bass guitars make it out on this tour. It was supposed to be the South American tour, and the number one request he had was Scully. That was his favorite. He mentioned that on the last podcast. So to see Scully back in rotation was super rad. And one that was just really, really special to me, honestly, probably the one that I was looking forward to and have been looking forward to the most is Gin. So if you saw that beautiful one it's kind of teal with purple and it's got a metallic purple pickguard on it, that bass guitar is called Gin. That was designed by my buddy David Salis, and it was made and hand drawn on by Alan Corona, who, bass making extraordinaire. I've had on the pod multiple times. I actually had both of them on the pod to tell the story of making that guitar. So if you haven't listened to that, go back and listen to that. It's a really cool story. They surprised Mark with this on his birthday, either last year or the year before. And so this one was another one that was really a culmination of a lot of stuff for me. It was, friendships I've had really during shitty pandemic times, to be honest. There's little Easter eggs on there that mean a lot to me and a lot of folks, especially folks on Mark's Discord. There's Animal Crossing Easter eggs. It's named after Jin Sakai from Ghost of Tsushima, which is a video game that, myself and Mark and TJ and Zach and David, we have played hundreds and hundreds of hours together on that game. So this bass really means a lot to me. And, to see it on stage for the first time live, and get this is just fucking eerie. It was Alan Corona's birthday. So it's so weird how sometimes the world just kind of gives you these little gifts. And this is one of those examples of where you really can't make this shit up. So, I was super emotional when I saw that on stage. I'm sure Alan was. Who would have thought that, even 3-4 years ago, he would make a bass that Mark would be playing on his birthday live for the first time, with Tom back in the band, and it was this super huge deal. It's amazing. So, I was super, super stoked to see that bass. It's got plus 44 lyrics on it. It's got, a sword with a banana. That's when we're playing GOT. Mark's special was banana mode. So it really is an amazing piece. Go back and listen to that episode if you want details of that bass. Because there's a lot of backstory there. And this is stuff that I just love. You may not think shit about it, especially if you don't know anything about Mark's Twitch or streams or Discord or anything. You may just say, oh, that's cool new bass. But there's a lot of heart that goes into that piece. And it's really interesting. Go back and check that out if you haven't. He did bust out that white one, Videz. It's by an artist named Joshua Videz. That was dope. And then he busted out Relic, which I mentioned earlier. That's the one that has the anime sticker. That's an original that actually came from a longtime collector, a dude named Daniel, I believe, out of Canada. And his, I believe, Instagram was Blink-182 Memorabilia. And I don't think he's very active anymore. But I remember 10 years ago or so, he was one of the first pages that I started following where it's like, oh, this is fucking rad. Like, I love seeing Blink merch and Blink collectibles and shit like that. So I think it was a Cali tour or the deluxe tour. He did a meet and greet and gave Mark that original sticker. And Mark put it on his bass, and it's still there. That's one of the sickest basses he has, I think. And then he busted out the Daphne Blue. So for those of you who just picked up that signature bass, it just shipped. A lot of you probably just got it last week. You just got to see Mark, play it on stage, which is gnarly. I wouldn't doubt if they do another batch of those, because I would bet there's a lot of folks who, seeing Mark play that first show back with Tom, if they passed on it or didn't have the change at the time, maybe scrounging up to be able to purchase that, because it's pretty sick. And it was rad to see him with that. Let's get into the set list a little bit. I've kind of hit on overall vibes leading into it, performance. some of my thoughts on their axes. I do want to note, by the way, performance-wise, the visual effects and all the graphics and everything going on in the background are amazing. I mean, I was just blown away. They're so fucking rad, like little pieces of lyrics, like sick art that goes with the song. Um, I'm assuming that's probably what's going to roll out with them on tour. I mean, it was so good. There's no way Coachella folks do that together in a day. I wouldn't think. So whoever made all that stuff, huge shout out to you. That person deserves a raise, no doubt. So visually, I mean, it was really, really rad. So whoever was in the crowd, I think even if you were in the back, you were getting a pretty rad show. And I will note that on the stream itself, this is part of why I was stoked that it was happening at Coachella. As much as I would love for it to be a tiny little show that I'm at, the fact that it was at a big event like this meant that it was going to be pro shot, and not only pro shot, it was going to be, streamed for free, which is fucking rad. I mean, I would have paid $100 to watch that last night. So it was super sick that, their first show back, we've got amazing clips of. I can't wait to see more photos. I've seen quite a few, but I can't wait to see some of the pro photos. There were a ton of folks up front taking shots. So I'm hoping we get those in the next, day or two for sure. Going into the set list, being as this was a festival slot, it had a 50-minute time slot. I knew that they realistically, they weren't going to get too deep. You're playing to a crowd that A, just found out you're coming the day before, and B is, they're not hardcore Blink fans. You're going to have to play to them a little bit. You're dealing with, a lot of folks may have never even been to a Blink show or, heard them, to be honest, given the demographic. So, I knew it was going to be a fairly safe, lot of popular songs, for a festival setting. And, knowing that, I think if you understand how bands work in some capacity, you're not going to be too bummed about a set list, especially a festival set list. It's like, come on, they're going to play the hits. You can't be too bummed about that or shitty about that. So coming into that, I've mentioned there's songs that they're going to play. Okay. They're going to play all the small things. They're going to play I Miss You. At this point, it doesn't matter. This is the first show back with Tom. We're stoked to hear what these sound like in general. However, if I was a betting man, I would not have bet, my house on them starting with Family Reunion. And to me, that was just so epic. I didn't know how they were going to come out, mentioning it's a widespread audience. You may have some younger folks there, to come out and just bust straight into Family Reunion. I mean, how amazing was that? What other band in the world can sneak on to a festival 50-minute time slot, not even the headliner, and the first things out of their mouth are the shit piss fuck? I mean, good Lord. To me, that was a statement. It was, we're back. We've got the same humor. Here we go. They bust into Family Reunion. Right after that, Anthem 2. And that's where, I mean, my podcast is, based off the Take Off Your Pants and Jacket logo for a reason. It's my favorite album. This is no surprise. Anthem 2, when I hear that song, I want to go fucking nuts. I almost spilled my popcorn. I almost spilled a red spree off the recliner. I was going nuts. And like I said, Tom sounded great. And it didn't sound exactly like the album. And I loved it. It was a new age version of it for him. Right away, that was when we were first starting to get, okay, what is the sound? I thought through the stream, everything sounded great. Tom sounded great. Mark's tone was absolutely killer. Travis on point, as always. So Anthem 2, they bust into Rock Show, but not before Tom snuck in a little fingers in your butt. So right away, like I said, that the banter is back. They're having fun. They're just having a blast. And I'm just so happy for these three to be able to relive this and to have this much fun of what, this is hopefully just the very beginning of what's going to be an amazing summer for them and all of us. And I was just smiling from ear to ear. Okay. I was feeling this. And so they bust into Rock Show. That was great. I was, the first surprise, as far as, arguably a deep cut in some capacity, though, I mean, it was a single with the Mark, Tom, and Travis show. But I was shocked that they played Man Overboard. And I was even more shocked that they played it that high in the set. So they have played that, fairly recently, past couple years. They played it with Skiba, but it was kind of always towards the bottom. And in fact, I think Man Overboard works great right before the encore because it's like see you around, walk off stage, come back. But it was rad to hear this song that early in the set list. That's where right away I was able to tell like they've worked on this. This is not the first time they've played this. They had some harmonies going back and forth that were great. They go into feeling this. So, for the past several years outside of the Enema tour, because you can't count that. They obviously they played the Enema the State album front to back, so they're going to start with Dumpweed. But to have feeling this in the 5 slot, that was shocking to me. And this is one of those examples of they had a great bridge, and this is where and again, not a knock on Skiba. You want to play it as accurate as you can. You want it to sound like the album, but I know a lot of people miss Tom kind of noodling around, and typically he does it on the bridge. And this is one of those examples of where Tom really started getting his little noodles here and there and letting stuff ring out. Wasn't sounding exactly like the album, and I love that. And I think a lot of the fan base. Has been vocal about that, and I'm sure they were stoked with what we got from Tom last night. None of this was too much AVA. I will note that. In the past, a lot of folks would say, yeah, there's too much AVA. I just thought it was perfect. It was just a hint of, I hate to even call it AVA. It's just how Tom plays now. It's just the type of music he likes, and with his tones and what he's using, pedal wise on the backside, it's just kind of letting those notes play out and just kind of noodling. They're not crazy solos. Tom's not busting out an Eddie Van Halen solo here and there, but it's just minor differences that, all things considered, spice it up a little bit, make it a little different, and just make it a little bit more powerful from a live performance aspect. I was really surprised on Reckless Abandon. I did not necessarily think that would make the cut. Definitely not a festival cut. But that was dope. They had some great harmonies on that. I actually thought that was a killer song in the set list. Dysentery Gary, Tom joking right away. This is really fucking hard to play. What's My Age Again? And then we get to Edging. And a lot of folks, I think that song's 6 months old, which is crazy. It's still fresh. I still listen to it all the time. But it's wild that it dropped that long ago. And we've never heard it live. So this was the first opportunity to hear Edging live. I thought they crushed it. I really did. I did not know how that was going to play out. And being as it's the first time in front of that many people, I thought it sounded awesome. I've watched that 3 or 4 times on YouTube today from several different folks' perspective. Seemed like the crowd knew the words. And I'll say the crowd was rad. For a lot of folks that didn't know Blink was coming or maybe hadn't heard these songs or whatever, they were feeling it. I even saw a couple pits popping out, which was dope to see. Dumpweed, gnarly. Aliens Exist. Given Tom's history now with To the Stars and UAPs and such, I think you got to play that one. So that was cool to see. One thing that was a tad surprising to me, they busted out that Hey Oh kind of Ramones sounding intro for First Date. And to me, that just kind of surprised me because to me, I kind of think of that as a Skiba thing. So that was cool. To me, that's a little nod to that era. So to have Tom kind of count that down and then to bust into First Date, I thought that was cool. If I had to be insanely picky, squirt gun to the head, if you're going to start, begging me to be negative in some capacity or just have some sort of constructive criticism, really my only thing would be that there was a little auto-tune going on First Date. And I think overall, the performance was amazing. But there were a couple parts on First Date where you could hear a little bit of crazy auto-tune going on. I'm sure maybe in person, you probably didn't even catch that, but through the stream, that kind of caught me a tad off guard. But you know what? I thought it was kind of cool. I thought it was a little rad. I'm all for, especially the popular stuff like First Date, all the small things, stuff I've heard a million times. I'm all for those being a little different live in some capacity, no doubt. The deepest cut probably was Don't Leave Me. And I think that was cool. That's an amazing song off of Enema. So I think a lot of the folks in the crowd, who at least probably had Enema of the State or know of Enema of the State back in the day, that's a good deep cut, I think, to play to some of these larger crowds, because most of those folks will have heard that in some capacity. Um, and I think I actually have a note here. I think that was the first one where they were both playing. Mark was playing Relic, and Tom was playing that sticker, the anime guitar, and that was when they were both playing with anime guitars. So that's rad. Down, I thought that was powerful. Happy Holidays. So we got Family Reunion, we got Happy Holidays, both in one set. I Miss You. So gosh, I tell you what, when when that second verse kicks in and the crowd takes over, I had goosebumps. I mean, everybody and their mom was screaming their lungs out at that part in the set. And, it was starting to get a little dark outside. I think by that point, the crowd was probably just riding off that high and absolutely blown away. So to have the crowd come in there and then to hear Tom sing it again, that was a special moment. I think if you're in the crowd last night, that's something you're not going to forget for sure. They go into All the Small Things. So, that's one that they're going to play. I thought it was great. Um, I love when Tom, that's one of the things, and Skiba did this too, but that's one of the things that I love about Tom is when he switches out some of these lyrics to just make them just a little bit naughtier. And he said he changed the lyric to "hand jobs let me know she cares." Oh, we've missed you, Tom. One of the things I will note though, and tell me if I'm crazy or not, but one of the things that I actually loved about Skiba's All the Small Things is during that bridge, Skiba on guitar would go down, 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 down. He would add that. It doesn't typically go like that. And when they played that live with Skiba, that was one of the things that I always loved about that, because it's a little different than the album, at least from what I can hear in the mix in my in my ears all these years. And Skiba would go down, 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 down. So I was wondering if they were going to play it like that, or if Tom was going to add that. And Tom did not. Tom played it how he usually does. But if you listen, Mark did. So to me, I noticed that. I thought that was really cool because I loved that little part during that song, the past 3 or 4 years or whatever, Skiba era shows. And to have Mark still do it, to me, that's just a neat little thing. That's a little nod to the Skiba era, I think. So I did notice that. Let me know if you did or did not. And then to end the set, it's coming. And they went over, by the way. So they had 50 minutes and they didn't give a fuck. They were going to play as long as they wanted to. And then to end that with Damn It, I mean, to hear Tom playing that riff, I mean, come on. It was sick. One thing that was super awesome during that song is if you watch the second verse, Tom basically just hands off the guitar and just lets Mark take it away on bass. And so just to hear Mark singing what's my favorite Blink song after a night like that, to close out a special night like that, and then to get that second verse on bass. I don't know if Tom did it intentionally. I doubt it. But to me, it was almost like kind of giving Mark that moment in a way. So I thought that was really, really rad. And, Mark did the no scrubs, which, that's a nod to the past. He used to do that all the time. So, I don't know really how you can get a better set. It would be really, really tough. I mean, for me, like I said, if you're going to say Poppin', you've got to say something bad. What was wrong? What if I had to be insanely picky, I would say, there were a couple. Tom messed up a tad on Anthem 2, I noticed right away, but you know how fucking nervous they probably are or were? I mean, Tom hasn't played to a crowd like that in a long, long time. And honestly, I'm totally fine with mess ups. I would much rather hear mess ups than just, a backing track or just perfect, playing or whatever. It's live. There's supposed to be a little sloppiness to it. This is punk rock. I'm down with it. So if I had to be crazy, picky, and you're going to hold a squirt gun to my head and say, pick 3 things you would change or 3 things that would be different or anything that would be different. The only thing that even stuck out to me a tad was that tad bit of auto tune on the first date. But again, it's whatever. Those are absolutely harmless. If you're going to harp on me to make a change or analyze the set list, I mean, the set list is perfect. if I was writing this out, I probably would have swapped. I think I would have swapped Reckless Abandon with maybe like a Dude Ranch or Cheshire Cat, like maybe an M&M's or a Josie. If I really had to pick this apart and make this my personal, favorite set list for a festival. I mean, really, I'm looking at it right now. The only thing that I could maybe change, and this is shocking because, as you know, I'm a huge Toy Patch fan. Um, I would have loved to get like a Josie in there. I think I would maybe swap Reckless Abandon for a Josie. I think the crowd would be just as stoked on it. But, at the end of the day, I was absolutely blown away by this evening. I'm thinking, shit, let's do this every Friday night. Why can't they play a nice stream show every Friday night? I'll do Sweet Tarts next Friday, Runts the one after that. This is great. I love it. Like, Blink is back. Ever since I started this podcast, this is what I've been waiting for. I literally started this podcast thinking I would have this type of stuff to talk about and break down every day. And all of a sudden we had a global pandemic and there's fucking nothing. So, to me, as much as I love Blink, as much as I love chatting with you all and seeing the reactions and chatting with Blink fans, on social media or Discord or wherever, it's just an amazing Friday night. Blink's back, Tom's back. They blew away my expectations, to be honest. I thought they sounded amazing. They looked great. And most importantly, they looked so fucking happy and looked like they were having so much fun. And to me, that's the key to all of it is really their friendship. And it's amazing how, those two who just found each other in a garage essentially in California and wanted to play some music. It's amazing how just that has branched out into what for many of us has been so many rad memories and friendships and trips and experiences and all that stuff. So, obviously for me, Blink is it's so much bigger than the music. It goes so much further than the music. It really is. So last night, I think for all of the Blink fans, it was a special night. I saw some folks saying probably their best, live performance since Big Day Out. I mean, arguably, I could get down with that in some capacity. It was amazing. And I think the fact that it's Pro Shot, it's going to live on forever. And I was just stoked. I was just fucking stoked. And if this is even a hint of what's about to come on the tour, which it is, I mean, you thought last night was amazing. How fucking amazing is it going to be when it's that, but probably 30 more minutes of songs, hopefully another new song, hopefully an album soon, and hopefully you're going to see them live and have that right in front of you. It's pretty rad. Sounds like a pretty fucking rad summer to me. So that was kind of my takeaway. A lot of folks were hitting me up like, dude, you got to get a pod out. You got to get a pod out. I'm like, all right, let me see if I can sneak away for a few minutes here and knock this out. But exciting times in Blinkland. And I really, really want you all to cherish these moments. And, I've been such a big proponent of in the past, like, yeah, it doesn't matter who's in the band. Go out and see them live. I don't care if Travis is, playing at a dive bar. Go out and see Travis play live. It doesn't matter where you can catch any of these three because it truly is special. You don't know how long it's going to last. As Blink fans, we've seen this happen over and over again. In fact, I just can't fucking believe that it's almost been 4 years since I saw him live last, since 9 dropped. I mean, it's crazy. It's just the past 2 or 3 years. I mean, again, there's just so much life there. But, lastly, I'll close with this. I want it to also be some sort of inspiration, and that's how I'm trying to take it, that, no matter what you're going through, you think about what Tom was going through with family and losing his band and being called crazy and all that stuff. And you look at Mark with, going through cancer and, everything that goes into dealing with that, unless you have that or have had that, you can't even really wrap your head around it. All the stuff that those three have been through, there's still hope. And even though you can have shitty years, shitty times, look how fucking rad last night was for all of us, for everybody who's had any shitty day in the past 3 or 4 years leading up to this, how special was last night? And how stoked and happy were you last night? So to me, that's the biggest thing for me is just I'm just so happy that they're happy and that they were able to make that happen. I'm hoping the next time we talk, I probably will have seen Blink a couple times. I'm thinking so, because this is an emergency pod, so I probably won't get another one out for 2, 3 weeks at minimum. And I am scheduled to see Blink soon and very soon. All right, that's a wrap on this one. That's my thoughts. Blink is back. Performance was amazing, honestly. And I will say this, I saw like universal praise all over. So it's not just me. I think, and when this episode drops, I would love to hear from you. Let me know how you felt about it. I've read a lot of it, but, it was just absolutely killer and a night I'll never forget. So, all right, enjoyed it. We'll talk soon. Follow the pod page, follow the YouTube page. I just put up a clip of Christopher Holmes and I talking about Plus 44. So yeah, follow the YouTube page for rad shit. I'm trying to go through and clip out old interviews. And yeah, next time we talk, I think I will have been to 2 Blink shows. All right, peace.